Hello everyone, this is Meshiv.
And I'm Axion, and we're going to be casting another user-submitted replay, our second one, and it's going to be a 2v2 on Twilight Fortress, featuring BOON, the Red Terran, allied with SHDW, which we think is going to be pronounced Shadow, so we're going to be calling him Shadow, and he is the Blue Zerg. They will be versus CHou, the Purple Zerg, at the top, who is allied with the Teal Terran CVN.
Yep, we'd just like to shout out to Shadow over here. He did send us, or possibly she, but whoever they are, sent us this replay and asked us to cast it for them. So we are, of course, doing as they asked. This is what we're here for. We're gonna give them as many suggestions and tips and advice as we can.
Alright, it looks like pretty standard openings. Supply depot at 10 for both Terran. Zerg is droning up at the moment. It'll be interesting to see if we get an early pool or an early expand from both Zerg, because this map, I think, really favors early expansions with the shared choke.
Yeah, and we do see the racks going down at 12 for CVN. Very standard play.
I think BOON is also doing the same. Right now, it looks like CHou has scouted the other base, so he's in there. He's seeing what's going on. Doing a little harassment to BOON's SCV building the barracks. And it does look like Shadow is going for the, it looks like a 13 expand, so that's pretty quick.
Yeah, that's very early, but it looks like CHou is about to do the same. So pretty much identical builds coming out from both these players, and we do see CVN getting his gas, and the same for BOON. So if we pull up the production tab here, we're going to see that both players are on a pretty similar track.
Yep, and it does look like Shadow is opting to go for the spawning pool, as well as the extractor, although his extractor is a little bit later than Chow's, so Chou might be able to get the Zergling's speed out a little quicker if he does choose to do that. I don't think it'll be a huge deal, because the distance between the two bases is pretty large if they decide to go for some sort of early attack.
Yeah, and as Shadow mentions in the chat, his expansion is scouted, and I'm not sure that they know about the expansion of their opponents. Let me check that out real quick. No, they do not. They have not even scouted at all. Okay, here's BOON's SCV finally moving in, and he's stopping just short of seeing it, but he is going to see the expansion going down. So he knows that both the Zerg players are going for the early expand, and we see some drones being main-arted here over to the expansion. With pretty much perfect timing, they're going to start getting some minerals as soon as the expansion finishes.
Yep, and it looks like we have a second refinery going up to BOON, as well as a tech lab on that barracks. And if we could go over and take a look at CVN, he's going for a 2 barracks, 1 factory with the double refineries. So we may be seeing a tank marine push, which is, I'd say, a pretty solid strategy in 1v1 and 2v2. Tank marine works well if you can get the marines in good position in front of the tanks.
Yeah, and interesting placement of the buildings here by CVN, kind of lining them up right here. There's a pretty wide choke here for the players to defend. As if you've watched some of our earlier casts, you'll know that Axion and I, this is our favorite map to play. As we both play Terran, we love to get the wall in at the choke. But because we're both Terran, we can share the duty of walling in. Whereas here, both these players being Terran and Zerg, it's a little bit harder for them to complete the wall. And so, just seeing the different choices that each Terran player makes in placing his buildings, we'll see if that has any effect later in the game.
Yep, and it looks like both our Zerg players are going for a metabolic boost at almost exactly the same time, as CVN is getting a reactor onto one of his barracks, as well as his first siege tank and siege tech. And I'd also like to call attention to the Reaper of BOON moving across the map, so he went for a pretty early Reaper here. They have been nerfed since the patch, but let's see if he can do some damage.
Yeah, definitely a good map right here. Well, not necessarily the best map, but he's got to get that out of there before that queen pops it. But yeah, you're able to hop right into the expansion up here, but otherwise there's not too good placements for these Reapers on this map.
Yep, and it looks like BOON popped up there. He saw the double gas at the expansion, and I think he assumes that a lair is going up. And double gas that quickly on an expansion is, it can be indicative of Mutalisk, as they're pretty gas heavy, and they're very good in 2v2, able to bounce back and forth between both players' mineral lines and harass them.
Yeah, as you can see in the players' chat, they do are worrying about those mutas, even though I do not believe there's a Spire on the way yet. So, but they do.
Just the Spire just went down.
Spire just went down. Well, there you go. So it is good for them to start getting out some Hydras. And, oh, there's the Spire being hidden back into his main. So good call for seeing the double gas up there and making the right unit switch. That's a good play.
Yep, it looks like BOON is also reacting appropriately, throwing down an armory, and I assume that after he's done producing these blue flame Hellions, he'll be pumping out a pretty quick Thor to try and fend off any sort of Mutalisk harassment, as we see Shadow throw down a Hydralisk den.
Yep, not only is he throwing down the Hydralisk den, but his ally BOON is beginning construction on his second command center. So that's if they're able to defend their base, they're going to have both their natural expansions earlier than their opponents, as CVN does have the larger force right now, as BOON and Shadow have opted to play a little more macro style. We'll see if that decision will cost them.
Yep, and it looks like here BOON is moving across the map with some Hellions. They do have the pre-igniter upgrade, so they're going to be doing 24 damage a shot to light units, such as the drones and Zerglings. Let's see if you can do any damage with those.
Yeah, Hellions are very, very effective, especially against Zerg units, Zerglings and drones. You can really roast them and toast them pretty well, especially if you can get in a mineral line. And they are going to try to make their way up this front ramp.
Although there are some Mutals here to defend, and this should work out pretty well for Chou. I don't know how much damage that BOON's going to be able to do here.
And his first shot actually goes off on the Queen, which is a little bit of a mistake by him. The Queen, you're not going to kill the Queen with those 3 Hellions and the Mutas chasing you. So they really should try to focus fire down, a couple of drones, because it's pretty obvious that they weren't going to get out of there alive. So, the best they could have done is take out 1 or 2 drones.
Yeah, I mean, I would have even recommended backing that up after seeing the Mutas there, because that was just certain death. It's never really good to suicide your units in, and it looks like we have a counter push of a ton of Marines and tanks as the Mutalisks are sneaking around the back to possibly, they're harassing Shadow's mineral line right now.
Yeah, this is a really good play, pulling the Hydralisk off the front, and then these tanks and Marines are moving right up in here, but luckily they do have vision with the creep there, so the tanks are going to siege up down there. And the second Thor pops out just in time to help defend this a little bit, and the Hydras and the Terran units are getting a nice flank. The Hydras should pull up, and there they go. This army is going to be pretty tough to deal with, but good positioning on those Thors.
This is a pretty good push by CVN and Chou, and it looks like to respond, BOON is pumping out another Thor and some Marauders, while Shadow is getting 14 Hydralisks, as well as the missile attacks and Carapace level 1 upgrades. But it does look like these tanks are doing quite a bit of damage, leapfrogging in here to BOON's base.
Yeah, and they do siege up, and these Thors are getting focus fired down, and the second tank does go down, so able to get 2 of the tanks, but it's not looking very good right now for Shadow and BOON. But there are still a bunch of Hydras on the map, and they are going to move out.
Yep, looks like the Hydras are rushing in, trying to pick off these last 2 remaining tanks. If they can get them, they should be able to be fine, especially this last one. They can pick it off before it sieges, and looks like for the time being, smart play there by BOON to bring some SCVs to repair that Thor. Yeah. They should be able to fend this off.
That's really nice. I mean, that is just smart thinking. Thors are the hardest counter to Mutas, so great play by him. A few Hydras getting caught out of position here in the corner as the Mutas are able to take them out.
Now, one trick that actually Chou could have done was he could have magic boxed his Mutas, which involves selecting them and kind of clicking in the center, and they will all go to the center and then spread out, and then you want to hit hold position. And it puts them far enough away that they don't suffer severe splash damage from Thor's javelin rockets, which is really what causes the most damage to them.
Yeah, quick note, the BOON does have his eBay down, so we should start putting up some missile turrets around his base. Missile turrets are really, going to prevent the Mutas from continuing to harass. So not only that, but he should main art a bunch of these SCVs over to his expansion.
And look at this great tank placement by CVN. It was right behind that little flower there that could shoot up into the mineral line of Shadow.
Oh, I didn't even see that there. That was really clever placement. I guess it did get taken out, but that was a tricky play by him. But this tank sieging up prematurely and is going to be taken out before it gets any